If you sell a postcard and it does not show as delivered for a period of time, do you contact buyer and ask if delivered or just leave it? So welcome back everyone to SMPostcards, the best place on YouTube to find things about reselling postcards. So today I have a special topic. It's Fort Knox. Now when I say Fort Knox, everybody thinks gold, the gold depository. But did you know that it's actually on a military base, an armored military base? They do training. So there's two things you want to look for in Fort Knox is gold and the military postcards. And we're going to go through there and talk about these. And the reason I did this video is because I was listing and looking through some Fort Knox postcards. Some are average, but some are pretty neat. We'll look at the pricing. And that'll be in the special topic after I go through the what's sold. I got 11 postcards sold, and I sold some toys that I moved over to the postcard store. And then instead of a poll this week, I always try to put some other things instead of just polls. I have a little topic, little thing I've been tracking, and I'll work through it with you. It's called How Long Does It Take to Sell a Postcard? When people say postcards are long tail and do things, I'm saying, how do we know that for sure? That's just what we know. We know that it takes a while sometimes for postcards, but how long? So I'm trying to track some stuff to help us out, and I'm up to 600 postcards tracked with this graph. And it'll take a few minutes to go through, but I think you'll understand. It's pretty straightforward what I'm doing. It doesn't take a lot of time for me to do it. But as throughout the year, I'm going to keep doing this. And we're going to see what the numbers look like in my store. It might be different for yours. And then I got some viewer comments to go over at the end like normal. But let's go ahead and get through the what solds. Like I said, I got 11 cards here, and we'll go through those. The first one is just a USS Cayuga LST-186, a publisher card. There's the publisher. Chrome card, standard 455 boat ship. Next was two cards for what's the total? $21.45. This gentleman bought two cards, and both of the cards sold for $10.65. And they're Navy cards. This is Morning Drill Sailors from the U.S. Man of War. This is a divided back. Sailors in the front there. $10.65. Rapid fire drill on board the U.S. Man of War. So he cherry picked two of these out of the store for $10.65. Both are divided back cards. Nice good card stock on those. And that total for that order was, let me get my little cheat sheet here, $21.45. I like those sales nowadays. Next one is another ship, USS Whipple. Just another publisher card. Chrome card standard, $4.55. Went out there. This is a hospital that sold. This is University of Minnesota Medical Center Mayo Memorial Building in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So Mayo Clinic. Any hospitals, most of the hospitals, I always know I'm going to go up $1 at least. And this one sold for $5.65. Next one, gentleman bought two things for Navy ships. Remember, you want to get them to buy more than one item. So he bought this ship, USS Sellers, DDG-11. It's a publisher card, standard card. And then he also bought the naval cover. And what he's buying is the cachet here and that stamp up there, 1970. It's Sellers. It's from the ship. So he bought the postcard and the ship. And by looking through my store for that, he found both of those. And each one, so that's about a $9 sale. Next person actually sent me a message about this card and said he was born here. And Fort Ord postcards are hard to find, he said. This sold for $9.55. And this is Fort Ord, Monterey, California. On there. It was posted in 1940s. So $9.55. So he said these are hard to come by. Next one, this person paid $15.40 for two photos, and with the discount these were $7.70 a piece. First one is the Bennington CB-20 circa 1940 photo, not a postcard, it's a photo, and they all have little information on the back like from someone's collection. So that sold for $7.70. And then he bought another version of the Bennington CV20. Remember, I have different views of these boats, and he picked that out there. So that order came to $15.40. This last card was part of the wrestling stuff I got from Mary Martin. Now, the first bad thing that goes for it is there's no information on the card. Number two, it's international, foreign, and I just didn't find a lot of stuff on them. So I sold them for $5. Bare-chested wrestling guy. If you notice, it said $3 up there, so I got $5 for it. I'm fine. It's an international card. I don't do a lot of those. So I sold 11 postcards for $78 yesterday. Average sale price was $7.09. So it is going up. That's what I wanted to do this year. So $7.09 average sale to price. Then again, I sold some toys. I moved basically my toy store is closed. This morning I canceled the subscription, and first of the month it'll be over with. So I won't have the store level, but I will have the ID, but there's nothing there anymore. I just want to keep the ID. That was my original ID from years ago, but I sold 8 of the same action figure, Star Wars. And here it is right here. And that's sold for $132 for those toys plus shipping. So my total yesterday with postcards and 11 postcards and 8 of the action figures came to $210. I have no problem with that. Cleared out some of the toys, cleared out some of the postcards, got some good money for them. I'm good. So $210 overnight. So that's what's sold. Now, let's get into these Fort Knox postcards. Are they gold? Is there gold in them? Fort Knox, like I said, is a military base, and that's where the gold depository is. I found some facts about Fort Knox that would probably help you understand and tease you a little bit about some of the history of Fort Knox. And as I do that, I'm going to show you some slideshow of some of the postcards and photos that I found of the Fort Knox. Fort Knox is a 109,000 acre base that holds U.S. government federal gold reserve. The building was originally opened as a depository for gold, but has also been home of the U.S. Army Armor Center for 60 years. In 1937, construction of the building cost $560,000. For construction of the project, the government needed 16,000 cubic feet of granite, 750 tons of reinforcing steel, 670 tons of structural steel, and 4,200 cubic yards of concrete. Visitors are allowed to stand outside the gate of Fort Knox. They can even take pictures, but they are not allowed inside. The building was named after Henry T. Knox, a general of the Revolutionary War. Fort Knox has the world's hardest shell, with the walls featuring 4-foot thick granite, lined with cement, steel, and fireproof material. The depository can actually withstand a direct hit from an atomic bomb. The front door weighs 22 tons and is made of blast-proof materials. No single person can enter the vault. To open the depository, several staff members have to dial separate combinations, and they are changed on a daily basis. Currently, Fort Knox houses 147.3 million ounces of gold. At a current price of gold, that is roughly $270 to $300 billion. So that depository is loaded, and that's Fort Knox. So when people think of Fort Knox, they think mostly of the gold depository, not the military base. So let's see what these things sell. How fast do these things sell? What's the sell-through rate? So sell-through rate is calculated by sold divided by listed times 100 to give you a percent. I went out there and I just did a query in eBay, and I said postcard space Fort space Knox, postcard Fort Knox. Came up with 66 sold. I unchecked the sold. 1,000 were listed. So there's not a lot of these compared to other things like, 140,000 Massachusetts, 270,000 California. There's only 1,000 Fort Knox out there. Times 100 gives you a 7% sell-through rate. It's a little bit above average. As you'll see here, it's just above it. Not at the top. Disney's 12%, McDonald's 22%, Wiki Watching Mermaids 40%. But Idaho, postcard from Idaho in the title, 9%. Nevada, 8%. In California, 6%. And one of the lowest is Massachusetts, which is 4%. Fort Knox lands between 6 and 8%, so it's just above the medium area. So they do move average movers. I didn't see any that were amazing, but we're going to look at pricing here in a second. So 7% sell-through rate on Fort Knox. Now with the pricing, what has sold out there? You said there were 66. I said there were 66 sold. So I went out and found 3 sold high and 3 sold low, and we'll look at the listed here in a minute. Now on these things where you see the black there, they're putting the seller name and feedback all out there. So I just decided I'm not here to roast any sellers. It's just looking at the finished product that they put on the site there on eBay to list or sold or whatever. So I just blacked those out. And I did a better job of coloring this time. The first one is a large letter postcard. I see a lot of Fort Knox ones, and they usually stick out to me. It says, "Greetings from Fort Knox." It's a tyke, large letter postcard, $6.99. That's average for that card. I don't think there's any really big money in some of the Fort Knox ones, but you always got to check the large letters. But $6.99 plus he got $4 shipping. He could have sold that, eBay standard envelope and shipped it for $4.77 or 57 cents or 60 cents whenever the rates went up this year. So large letter Fort Knox, $7. Postcard vintage Fort Knox. A lot of stuff there. 6x6 or 6x4, 4x6. $6. Free shipping. So we're about $5 to $6 now. $5 per card. Fort Knox bullion depository. So that's a key thing they're putting in there. But I think everybody knows Fort Knox in gold. If you just put something like that in there, they would stick it up. I don't know if I would type bullion. I would type gold depository more than I would bullion. Probably couldn't even spell bullion. $5.99 took a best offer. Free shipping. So I don't know what offer. I didn't go look to see what he took. But all 3 of those cards, they look like they're all chrome to me. That top one could be a linen. $5 to $7, $5 to $6 is what the high ones for Fort Knox. So that's average. Average sell-through rate, average price. Then we get into the low. $1.96, $2. The bottom, or the top card there is almost like the other card. It looks a little older. $1.96, then $2.50. And then here's one of just the military part, $3.96. I would have sold that military one for some more money. That stuff like that sells to those guys. It might sit a little while, but you can get your money out of those. And let's see, 2 charge for shipping and 2 say free shipping. Now let's look what the people are listing these things for. This is like a wood, looks like a wood border one. It's not. He's put it on a table and took the picture. So it looks like one of those fake box framed postcards, but it's not. He's actually doing it on a table, and it's not as close up. So I think that photo needs some help on there. He could have got close enough to it with the camera even and did it. But use what you got. Rare vintage postcard, all caps, rare. I could get in that for days. $22.99. And we just saw that the higher ones are selling $5 to $7. Next one is another large letter card, $17. We saw the other one sold for $7. $14. I think we saw the same one over there for $1 or $2. So these are a little high. They're going to be harder sells, but they might get that one buyer that doesn't look on eBay, doesn't know how to search, or doesn't want to search, and just pick it up. But I think these are going to be harder sells, just to what I've seen. Next one is listed low. These are way low. $1.95, $1.99. I don't know what's going on with that yellow background. I saw a lot of those out there, but that just takes your eyes all over the place. And you got to really focus to get into the picture, and they're hard. So that's another photo that needs to have some help on there. $1, and it has an extra 5% off with coupon. 95 cents for a postcard. These are not really high ones. I think where the high ones that I've seen or have sold were more in the RPPCs or the military part than the gold depository. I haven't found any of those that are really great, unless maybe an RPPC or something like that. But there's not a lot of them out there. It's a niche. I wouldn't pass them up. They sell at 7%, put 100 up, you're going to sell 7 of them in a month or a year or whatever. But that's Fort Knox. So whenever you get a topic or you go to a box and you're thumbing through, all these videos is to help you get you through that box. What are you really looking for? If you haven't done this a lot, when you look at a box of postcards, do you ever sit there and say, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know? That's what it seemed like when I started doing postcards. As I learned some of the cards, what I'm looking for, motels, Caribbean, chromes, linens, different things in there. RPPCs, if they're $1 or so, most of them I pick up unless it's just a picture of a squirrel by a tree. I'm not going to pick that up. A big squirrel, I would, but you want to learn what to go through those boxes, those baskets at the antique mall, lots that you see, auctions. Flip through a book like those books I bought on that other video, 300 postcards. I sat there and flipped through them for 5 minutes. I added in my head more than than I thought, than I know I will pay for them. So it was a good buy. That's what all these videos for. So Fort Knox is one that I always pick up if it's for a good price. But I know it's going to sell between $5 and $7, unless it's one of those. Fort Knox. Who knew? Now, this part of the video is different this time. It's not one of the polls or whatever. And I'm going to try to walk you through my thinking of this, because my goal was, when people say postcards are long tail, how long do they sell? I really was just going off feelings. And if you know me in the videos, I like to have data. So I was figuring out, how can I visualize this and put data around without causing me a lot of work? I don't want to do things that are going to add another 10 minutes every time I sell a postcard. It's just not worth it. So I said, I come up with a lot of different ways of doing it. It was too much. I finally landed on this. So here's what I did. I have 120 boxes of postcards here that I can put postcards in my inventory. So the first thing I did is I put lines on there, and I had this graph that was just huge. It was 120. No one could even read it. I couldn't even get it on this video. And I said, I got to break this down, simplify this. Okay, so what I did is this, and I'll put it on the big screen so you can see it, is I took 10 columns across and 12 rows down of 10 boxes. And it kind of fit really nice. And I said, okay, I can work with this. I can probably put some dates on it. Everything you see green here is what a box. Box 1 has my oldest card in the box that I have listed. It's, I think, February of 2019. The last box has my newest cards. And you're going to see a graph here in a second how all this comes out. So all the green ones is where I've sold a card out of. And if you notice, I've sold 7 cards out of my first box, my oldest cards. The red ones are boxes that I have not sold any cards out of. So every time I sell a card, I go over, and on the front of my box I have a number, and I just come over and put it in my spreadsheet before I pack it up. And I've been pretty prevalent there. And we have 602 cards tracked on this sheet so far. So I've been doing this for a little while. The red boxes equal 15 boxes, which is 13% of my boxes I haven't sold any out of. And that's out of 602 cards, not everything from the time. So once I get the numbers in there, I wanted to get a percent. They're easier to work with, so I took the same grid, the same little boxes. I did some calculations, I made it look like this. Now they're percents of the total postcards. So all of these, if I sold 10 postcards divided by 602, which is how many cards are in the sample here, will give me a percent. So this is what drives the graph. And this is what the graph comes out looking like. So down at the bottom there, 1 through 12 is all the boxes. And you're saying, wow, there's a big dip in the middle there, Mark. I go, yeah. So I started seeing this, and I'm starting to look at this, and I'm saying, how can I work with this? You pretty well know on the graph on the right side, the tallest one is my newest cards. Whenever you list new things and stuff, you're going to sell the most of. So that's the most newest cards. And then as you get over into like 9, row 9 there, column 9, and then it just drops off. And it doesn't really pick up until like 4 and 3. A little bit there, but not as much as there. What's going on in the middle there? It's my ships. I'll put a little boat on the graph here just to say these are the Navy ships. This is when I really hit heavy with the Navy ships, and the reason why is a lot of the boxes between 5 and 8 have multiple quantity cards filling up the boxes like this here. So as you can see, there's one ship card there taking up almost half the box. And some people say, well, why did you do that? Because some of the cards didn't have enough quantity for me to put them away. And I had the room back then to put them in the boxes. So I just put them in here and I counted them up. Now there's cases and cases of one ship. Sure, I counted them all up, but I put the extra in the closet and I only put 100 or so in the boxes here. But that's what's going on between 5 and 8. It took me a little minute to say, did these are these cards not listed anymore? Or a lot of things go through your mind, but that's what's going on. Is all the boxes between 5 and 8 are the multiple quantity ships and stuff like that. One box might have only 10 different postcards in it, or 5. But that's what's going on. That's why I put a little red boat. I'm sitting there, how can I use this? How can I show people, or I use it or whatever? So we know box 1 is the earliest. The reason it's at February 2019 is during when I sold on Whatnot, I sold all my older stuff. I wanted to get up to 2019, so I put everything else in lots, or I sold it at flea market. So I got rid of a lot of stuff last year to condense up to that time. So with this chart here, I put some dates on the bars so we can kind of see if we can figure this out. And then throughout the year as I do this, I think we're going to get a better and clearer picture. This is a sample of 600 cards. Just think if we get a sample of 4,000 cards by the end of the year. So we know column 12 is my current cards. If I bought postcards and I listed them today, it would be, and it's sold, it would show in column 12. When you get over to the first part of the first 10 boxes in column 11, that's the date of the card in the first box in column 11. That's 7 months ago. So that's 7/12/2022, about 7 months ago is what my figures say. So I'm selling most of my cards in the last 7 months. Then we take a dip down, and then we get to 9 before the big drop with the ships. That's 14 months ago. So if you look at the chart, most of my cards sell in the first 6 to 7 months, or you could say they sell within the first 14 months. So that's over a year. So most of my cards sell after they've been online a little 12 to 14 months. And people say that's postcards. That's 2% sell-through rate, average. I mean, a lot of heavy hitters and stuff went off in that big line there, but as time progresses, all your good stuff's been picked out, and then you get over to box 4 is 7/16. So I did a lot of the votes in 20 there, and that's 2021, and then it's been 46 months or 3.8 years is in box 1. So you sell, what I'm seeing here, the trend is I sell most of the cards at the end there right away. All the good ones get picked out in the first 6 to 7 months, and then there's some other ones filter out in the next year, the next 6 months, and then you get over and they start cherry picking. People are just looking through there. But my oldest cards, I've sold about 7-8% out of that box 1, and those cards have been up there over 3 years. I don't do end and sell similar, end and relist. I don't do all that sales and all that other stuff. And people say you don't sell, they archive listings. I've been selling cards. I pulled a couple out today out of that box. So I am still selling a good percent of the cards on there, because you never really know what sells. So what do you guys think of this? You get it? I'm going to track it throughout the year and just kind of see. The boats kind of threw me off, but we're going to see what percentages. But I think what we see here is pretty well going to be what it looks like once I get more quantity in there. So people say, how long does it take to sell a postcard? I'm still really unclear, because it really depends on what the card is. But your average cards, you can kind of look here, because I do mostly average cards, sell within the first 6 months. and then it can be up to a year to get most of them sold. And then they kind of filter out through the rest of the time. People just cherry pick them out. So I'd say within the first 6 months, you're going to sell some right away, but then the rest are going to sell in the first 6 months, up to a year, and then they're going to filter. You got to do something with them to move them out, or just let them sit like I do. And another thing I looked at is, most of the time when I buy albums or collections, I do get my money back within the first 3 to 4 months. That's what I kind of look for too, and I think I pick out the cards and stuff like that. I list the new ones, so that big column there, that's where you get your money back. All the other stuff's paid for. By the time it hits column 9, and before that, it's been paid for. Probably column 10 or 11. It's paid for. I get my money back in that first big column there. That's what I look to do, is the first 3 months get my money back, and then the other stuff is just all paid for. But that's what I'm going to be doing. I'll bring it up every so often, every 2 or 3 months, or when I get some good data, and we'll just kind of see if we can answer that question. How long does it take to sell a postcard? That was the best title I could come up with. We'll see how it comes out. If you guys got any figures like that, let me know. Now we're going to get into the viewer comments. Viewer comments come from all over. Remember, if you put them on YouTube, I consider them public. If you don't want me to put them out there, just send me an email and say don't publish and ask me a question. And our email is contact@SMPostcards.com. My older emails will stop working in March. So you want to make sure that I am changing it everywhere. So if you want to look in the video descriptions, you can always find my information down there. My mailing address, my email, and all that stuff is in the video description on there. So contact@SMPostcards.com. We'll get the email and just say, hey, don't post. Or if you want me to post it and without your name, you can do that as well. Everybody's been okay with it. No issues. I just want to make sure everybody was clear that where I pulled these from. I don't want to offend anybody. So the first comment I got is from Rye. Hey Mark, great video. I am starting to categorize my store by state, type, etc. to help buyers look through my store, find out what they're looking for. I was wondering if you are able to put one postcard in more than one category. For example, I have a California 1906 City on Fire card. Can I put that in my California category and my disaster category? Will eBay allow you to do that, or do I have to pick only one category? Thanks so much, Mark. eBay is your best friend. Whenever you have questions like this or stuff like that, or Google, you can always Google it or look into help on eBay, and they might have some articles in there. So here's what I found about help answer Rye's question, and I figured other people might have the same question. I never put cards in 2 categories, so I really didn't know, so I had to go out and look. And here's where I got the answer from. So I went to eBay and typed in categories, and here's from eBay. This is cut and paste from eBay. Manage custom categories. Having an eBay store allows you to divide your items into categories or departments and customize them as you wish. You don't need to use the standard categories on the eBay site. You can create up to 300 unique store categories to help organize your listings and display your items to buyers. You can also put items in 2 store categories at a time at no extra charge. So right there is where I got the answer for Rye. It said you can also put items in 2 categories. So yes, you can put them in 2 different categories. But here's where it can be overused. It can be underused or overused. And a lot of people underuse it by doing a couple categories and then have an other category and everything goes in other. Or they just put everything and bunch it up in one big category. Overusing it can make people look for things, and then what eBay says here is a main point as well. Consider making special categories that attract buyers' attention, like listing all 50 states. I don't think you want to put all cities out there, but if you put it in the state, they can pretty well look at the name of the card in there. Such as 50% off or featured items. I see a lot of clearance stuff like that people point people to. However, avoid creating categories with only a few listings. Otherwise, you risk overwhelming buyers with too many categories, which leads to poor customer experience. So if I said this in another video, but if you go to a grocery store and you look at looking for crackers, you look on the sign, it says crackers, you go down there, you know you're going to get Toll House, Ritz, Cheez-Its, everything. It just says crackers, so there's some common sense. Now if the sign had everything listed and it hung to the floor, you would have to sit there and it just says crackers. It kind of leads you in the right direction, and that's what I feel with categories. So I always recommend to be careful with them. I'm selfish in using them. I use them to manage my inventory more than I think that helps people. But I do like categories, but I'm very careful not to over or underuse her. And I got some work to do. I got to do some cleanup this year. I have stuck stuff in other that I should have just went out there and put it in the right place. But sometimes you just do it, and after a while it kind of piles up. So I do have some cleanup, but customers really search there. I think followers do more than anything. But again, you can always go out to Google, type your question in, or to eBay, or put it here. That's fine, Rye. And everybody else, just you can answer questions, and I'll see if I can answer it. I learned something here. Yeah, you can do it in two. I've never done it, but I found the answer. I've never tried it, but I went and looked at the categories, and the bulk edit or whatever, you can put it in two categories is in there. Thanks, Rye. Next question came from Troy Bison, and I think it was directed at me. Why do not go after higher priced RPPCs and other high cards, and not bother with the chromes and linens? So he probably sees my video, might have looked at my store, what I sell. I work from divided back, white border, linen, chrome to current. I will pick up the other ones as I see them, but I'm more prevalent in the chrome area. It's really where I work at, divided back and down. So there's pros and cons to it, and this is my thinking. This is my opinion. RPPCs and a lot of those, yeah, they're great money. You pay a little bit more for them. Sometimes you get them pretty cheap, probably cheaper than I can with some chromes. But one thing is, it takes more time to do research. People will spend more time there. You'll get more money for it, but you paid up more. In the long run, you usually end up winning there as well. You get a lot more questions about those from collectors. And I think you might get a little bit more returns or something too, just because of the price point and the history and the collectors. So you get different types of questions with those. Now, if you look at what I do, I bought 700 U.S. President postcards, chrome. Jimmy Carter, Nixon, Reagan. A lot of people know those cards are $4 to $5 cards. Could be even cheaper. Not a lot of work, very prevalent out there. Not the highest sell rate, through rate in the world, but they do sell. That's what pays my bills, is these chromes. Yeah, you might sell one card, and I gotta sell 25 chrome cards to make what you sold on one. But my research time, me time spending money and stuff like that in there. So that's one of the differences. And the second difference is, I like chromes. Do what you like, and you'll succeed most of the time. I'm not one to sit there in the rabbit holes and do the research and dig through websites and stuff like that. At this point now, I'll do some cards like that, but I prefer to look at a chrome of a president that I knew and put it up and then pack it up and sell it. So I'm more of a quantity type guy than the one-offs. And there's nothing wrong with doing that part of it. There's people like that, and there's people like what I do. I would rather sell a card to somebody that will take the time to do that and let me focus on what I want to do. You can't do it all. I can't do everything. So you just work on what you want to work on, make a little bit of money. Sure, these guys might be making more money, but they might be missing out over here, and I might be missing out over there. So the key factor is I like doing what I do. If I knew I had to sit here for hours churning out different things and looking research and trying to get it right, that's just not me. So I don't have the patience, probably is what it is on there. But thanks, Troy, and keep asking questions. Art bets hold. If you sell a postcard and it does not show as delivered for a period of time, do you contact buyer and ask if delivered or just leave it? So I think I remember when Art sent this message, and I wrote back, no, I do not poke the bear. So you leave a sleeping bear alone. You don't poke them because they wake up mean. I never look at tracking that much. Very rarely. On some higher price stuff, or if I've had a difficult time with someone that bought something, I might just check here and there, but they pay, I ship. I don't care where it is. They pay, I ship. That's my deal. I don't look at their feedback. I don't look at none of that stuff. Most 99.9% of the time, unless it's a very, very high-end thing. But I probably wouldn't be selling that online anyway. I don't look at. Some people say, well, they only got 2 feedback. Should I ship it? They paid. You ship. That's my recommendation. That's what I tell people. You put it online to sell it to anybody. You can't really pick your buyers. Otherwise, you're not going to sell it. And you're going to cause more problems for yourself. So if you, number one, if you don't have it in your hand, and this was told, I forgot who said this years ago, and I remember it. If you don't have it in your hand, don't list it. If you don't have a way to ship it in a box or whatever, don't list it. And if you can't afford to lose it, don't list it. That's what he said at one time. I can't remember the guy's name. He's a reseller. He's got a YouTube channel too. But those 3 things: you don't have it, you can't ship it, and if you can't afford to lose it, don't list it. So I don't watch tracking. Paid, I ship it on there, and I don't poke the bear. I wait until the customer comes back to me and say, hey, I didn't receive this postcard. And they will. Some people don't. I think buyers should have some ownership in the transaction. I can't do everything for them and stuff like that on there. Now, if people come back and say it wasn't there in this eBay standard envelope, we wait the amount of time and I have to refund them, I can use that insurance and get my money back. So I'm not really concerned that much, but they will tell you that it didn't make it on there. But I don't poke the bear. It just came out. But thanks, Art. Yeah, be careful with that. Some people know how it works too. If they know there's not a delivered on there, they think that they're going to win and get the refund, and they probably got the product. Some people will do that. Not everybody. Most postcard people know. 99% of your people are honest out there. I can tell you that, the buyers. It's that 1% that throws everybody off, and it causes a lot of issues. People get anxiety over it. That one person will do that. I've had people scam me. I had one guy buy like 60 postcards, and it didn't look right, so I contacted eBay real quick, and they said, yeah, we're having a problem with that account. If it doesn't look right, question it. But your normal stuff, I don't have time for that. So, and you will get hit during your time of online reselling. Not everybody's a scammer, I can tell you that. I've sold, I don't think I've gotten scammed. I can't remember the last time when someone tried to play games with me. You know, I just got a $70 return from something from Christmas. The guy said he bought the wrong action figure after having it 90 days. It's a $70 item, probably more than that. And I'm saying, okay, here we go. Nothing I can do. And I sent him a label. He didn't send it back for 10 days, or put it in the mail. And finally, I got it back the other day. Everything's fine with it. I gave him $70. I'm not going to return his shipping because he basically said it's a remorse. He bought the wrong item. But everything was in there. It is considered used now. But I'm not really that concerned about it. It was my risk. But I'll still get my money out of it. It's a nice figure. I might end up keeping it. It's a higher end collectible thing, but it was not open all the way. It's just that the little plastic part about it and stuff like that. Not a big deal to me. It wasn't my money until after the return days anyway. So if you sell something for $70, they have 30, 60. I have 60-day free returns. I don't question it. It's just what I'm going to give you back, and 180 days to do a chargeback on a credit card. So is it really your money? You could run into problems. I've seen a lot of sellers, sell something for $200, and then they go out and spend the $200, and then 30 days later, the people want to turn it in. Maybe the husband saw the credit card bill, or the wife said, and they want to return it, or it didn't broke. Well, then they don't have the money. I've seen a lot of people run into problems like that. So usually I think it's June after Christmas time. 6 months is June. You're free and clear pretty much. So YouTube now is going to show you a video that they think you need to watch. So watch this video right here next by clicking on it. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.